Let me tell you. 25 years is a long time to carry someone. That's not just love, that's labor. That's packing lunches, waiting up when they're late, praying over their foolishness, and biting your tongue when you could have spit fire. She was there through broke days, through sick days, through days when even God seemed quiet. She knew his fears, his dreams, his snore patterns. She knew the medicine in his cabinet and the cracks in his confidence. But after all that, he came home talking about how he needed someone younger, someone who made him feel alive again. And Lord, you should have seen her face. Not angry, not broken, just done. She looked him dead in the eye and said, "You want young? Go on then. But don't come running back when you realize youth don't know how to hold you together when you fall apart." And baby, the silence that followed, it was heavier than truth. He thought he was walking away from age. What he didn't know was, he was walking away from home. She didn't chase. She didn't cry. She just remembered who she was. And sometimes, sugar, that's all the revenge a woman needs. Let me tell you something that'll stick to your ribs better than Sunday supper. 25 years ain't no weekend trip. That kind of time don't just happen by accident. You gotta build it. You gotta tend it like a garden, even when the ground is dry and your back is tired. They met young. Two wide-eyed fools with empty pockets and big dreams. They made a home out of almost nothing. Second-hand furniture, hand-me-down curtains, love notes scribbled on the back of grocery lists. Life wasn't always kind, but she was. She stood by him when he couldn't stand himself. When the plant laid him off and the savings dried up quicker than due in July, she didn't blame him. She just tightened the budget, stretched a chicken into 3 meals, and whispered, "We'll get through this." She held his hand in hospital rooms, laughed at jokes she'd heard 1,000 times, and prayed over his pillow at night. When his mama passed, he broke. Sat in the dark for days. Didn't speak, didn't eat. And you know what she did? She held his head in her lap like he was that little boy again. She didn't rush his grief. She carried it like it was her own. That's love, sugar. That's not the kind of thing you find on a dating app. That's the kind of love you earn. She was there through every poor choice and every late night. When he made that bad investment that almost cost them the house, she didn't throw it in his face. She just got on the phone, made payment plans, cooked beans instead of steak, and looked him in the eye like he was still her man, not her mistake. And it wasn't all hardship, either. They laughed. Oh, they laughed. In kitchens. At parking lots. At movies so bad they were good. They raised kids, shared inside jokes, gave each other nicknames nobody else understood. It was real. It was lived in. It had scars, sure. But it was solid. But you know what some folks do with solid things? They take for granted. Right around year 26, he started changing. You know the signs. New shirts he wouldn't normally wear. Cologne a little too strong. Suddenly going to the gym when he hadn't lifted a thing heavier than the remote in years. At first, she thought maybe it was just a phase. A midlife itch. But then came the late nights. The vague excuses. The shift in tone. Until one evening, with barely a blink of shame, he looked her dead in the eye and said, "I just think I need someone who makes me feel young again." Now, baby, that'll take the wind right out of your soul. 25 years, and he tossed it like last season's fashion. He wanted fantasy. A fresh start. Someone with tighter skin and fewer memories. He forgot that fantasy don't know what to do when the car breaks down or the bills come due. Fantasy won't rub your back when your body starts aching or hold your hand when you're scared of test results. She sat quiet. Not because she didn't have words. Oh, she had plenty. But sometimes the most powerful thing a woman can do is not beg. She just looked at him, and in that look was every sleepless night, every sacrifice, every dream deferred so his could live. She could have broken dishes, could have cursed the sky, but she didn't. She got up, made herself a cup of tea, and reminded herself who she was before she was his wife. Because here's the thing no one tells you. When you've held somebody together for that long, you start to forget your own hands were strong. She remembered. Slowly, yes, but surely. And while he chased his mirror version of youth, she started tending to her soul. Reading again, laughing again, wearing her favorite perfume, not for anyone else but for herself. She didn't just survive the storm, she outgrew it. So no, 25 years ain't no weekend trip, it's a journey, baby. And if someone jumps ship before the shore, let them go. Just don't forget, you were the one rowing the whole time. Now baby, you ever seen a man try to outrun time? It's a pitiful sight. Year 26 rolled around just like any other, laundry still in the basket, bills still on the counter, coffee still brewing in that same chipped mug. But something in him started shifting. Not all at once. No, foolishness sneaks in slow like a bad habit. It started with a gym membership. Said he wanted to feel better, but hadn't jogged since Clinton was in office. Then came the cologne. Real strong too, the kind that didn't whisper. Clean, but shouted. I'm trying to be seen. She noticed the shirts got tighter, the phone got quieter, and the meetings started running late. The man who used to call just to hear her voice was suddenly too busy for dinner, or too tired to talk when he got home. She wasn't born yesterday. She knew what was coming. And sure enough, one evening, he sat across from her, in the house they built, at the table she polished every Saturday, and he said, soft like he was doing her a favor. I just think I need someone who makes me feel young again. Kememim, ain't that something? 25 years of shared skin, tears, and stories. And what he wanted was a rewind button. She didn't cry. She didn't scream. She just blinked. Slow, like she was watching a stranger wear her husband's face. Because that's what it felt like. And deep down, he wasn't asking for youth. He was begging for validation, for a woman to look at his graying edges and thinning hair and pretend he was still the man he used to be. He wanted to be admired again. Chased again. Flattered for things that used to come easy. What he didn't realize is, he had all that, in a woman who still smiled at him when he came through the door. A woman who knew his insecurities but never used them as weapons. A woman who had every reason to leave long ago, but chose to stay. But no, see, he didn't want truth. He wanted fantasy. And fantasy is cheap, baby. It looks good in the mirror, but it don't pay the light bill. Fantasy don't know your middle name or what kind of cough medicine you like. Fantasy laughs at all your jokes because it ain't been around long enough to know how many times you've told M. He wanted a mirror that lied to him. That's all it was. He needed someone to tell him he was still the man, even though the real man he was, the one with kindness and loyalty and years of shared struggle, was sittin' right there in front of him, wearing slippers and holding his peace. And baby, she saw it all. She saw him reaching for something that didn't exist. And for a second, just a second, she almost blamed herself, like maybe she should have worn her hair different, or sent more flirty texts, or lost that stubborn 5 pounds that came after the kids. But you know what? She snapped outta that lie quicker than he fell into his, because she remembered. She was never the one who changed. She was still the same woman who prayed for him when he was sick, who knew how to calm him down with just a look, who kissed the crown of his head when the world made him feel small. She hadn't lost her value. He just lost his vision. And it hurt. Lord, it hurt. Watching someone throw away gold, 'cause they thought glitter would last longer. But some lessons gotta be learned the hard way. She didn't chase him. She didn't beg. She let him go. Not because she didn't love him, but because she finally loved herself enough to stop explaining her worth to a man who forgot how rich he already was. He wanted change, all right, but he didn't realize the most expensive thing he'd lose was the woman who knew how to keep him. Even when he didn't know how to keep himself. And baby, that kind of mistake don't show up on your credit score, but you pay for it every single day, let me tell you. There comes a moment in every woman's life when she could either fall apart or rise up. And that night, that was her moment. She had every reason to lose it. Every reason to tear the roof off that house and set fire to everything that reminded her of him. The pictures, the shirts, the little notes he used to leave on the fridge when they still remembered how to love soft. She could have screamed. Could have cursed God and love and 25 years that suddenly felt like they meant nothing. Could have called her sisters and told every last one of them what a fool he was. Could have gone through his phone line by line, traced every lie to the lipstick it came from, but she didn't. No, baby. She sat there, quiet, steady, like the eye of a storm that already knows it don't need to spin to destroy. She looked at him, not with rage, but with something deeper. Clarity. The kind that only comes when your heart breaks wide open and you finally see what you were never meant to carry. And then, in that voice she used to soothe babies and stop arguments, she said, "Baby, if you want someone younger, go ahead, but don't forget, that younger body won't know how to pray you through a storm." She didn't raise her voice. Didn't need to. Each word landed like bricks wrapped in velvet. She won't know the name of your dead uncle, or how your voice cracks when you talk about him. She won't know what foods make your stomach turn after a long day, or that you like your eggs runny but not too runny. She won't know you cry in your sleep when the bills are high and the work's low, or how you always doubt yourself after you speak in public. She won't know none of that. Because I'm the one who watched you grow. I'm the one who covered you in prayer when you didn't even believe in it yourself. Then, she leaned back, hands still as folded laundry, and said the line that shifted the air so sharp he could barely breathe. "See, I raised the man you became, but you want to impress someone who only knows the man you pretend to be." Whew. Silence hit that room like a clap of thunder with no rain, just that kind of heavy stillness that lets you feel regret before you even understand it. And he sat there, looking like a boy who just got told Santa ain't real. No smart mouth, no comeback, no defense, because truth like that don't argue. It just stands tall and lets the lies melt off around it. You see, she didn't need to break dishes or slam doors. Didn't need to call out the woman's name or list the receipts. What she gave him that night was a mirror, the real kind. Not the one he found in the gym or in the eyes of some girl who ain't even lived long enough to know what love costs. She showed him the whole truth, that he was walking away not from boredom or age, but from depth. From a woman who didn't just share his life, she held it, piece by piece, year by year, storm by storm. And you know what's wild? In that moment, she realized she wasn't broken. She was free. See, she thought he was the foundation, but really, she was the one holding it all up. The glue, the grace, the quiet strength behind every success he ever claimed as his own. And once she saw that, baby, there was no going back. Some women shatter when the truth shows up at their door dressed as betrayal. But not her. She stood in that storm and didn't even flinch, because when a woman knows who she is, when she remembers what she's poured, carried, lifted, and loved, she don't chase what left. She blesses it on its way out. And that man, he walked out the door with his pride in one hand and nothing but silence in the other. Because sometimes, sugar, the loudest goodbye is the one you don't have to shout. Now, here's the part where most folks expect fire and fury. They think she slashed tires, called his mama, or posted something scandalous on the internet with a cryptic caption. They expect drama, a show, a scene, like she needed to prove something. But baby, let me tell you something Auntie Mae learned a long time ago: true power don't stump, it steps back. See, this ain't no story about getting even. That's too small for a woman like her. This is about getting whole. She didn't chase him. Didn't beg. Didn't suddenly start wearing shorter skirts or Googling how to get a man back. She wasn't about to audition for a role she'd already outgrown. What she did, quiet as a prayer and steady as a sunrise, was rebuild. Started with little things. She pulled out that old recipe box, the one she hadn't touched in years. Began baking again, just like she used to before life got so heavy. The smell of fresh bread filled her kitchen one morning, and it was like her own soul remembered she was still in there. Flour on her hands, music playing low. That was the first time she smiled with her whole face in months. Then she signed up for classes at the community college. Just one at first. Said she always wanted to finish that degree but never had time. Well now, time was what she had, and she wasn't gonna waste it mournin' somebody who'd already packed up his love and left it on someone else's doorstep. And Lord, when I tell you she started traveling. Not running away, but running toward herself. Took a weekend trip to Savannah. Just her and her thoughts. Sat by the water, wrote in a little notebook she bought from the gift shop, and realized she hadn't asked herself what she wanted in years. Next trip was New Orleans. Then Charleston. Then a cruise with a few ladies from her book club. Women who'd lived, who'd lost, who knew the value of a good laugh and a strong drink. They weren't talking about men or what they lost. They were talking about what they found once they stopped holding on to people who didn't know how to stay. She bought herself a red lipstick. Not for anybody else, not to catch a new man's eye. No, she wore it on a Tuesday to the grocery store because it made her feel like fire and grace, all wrapped up in one. It wasn't about seduction, it was about resurrection. That color said, I'm still here. I'm still mine. Her house got quieter, but her heart got louder. She had space now. Space to dance barefoot in the living room. Space to leave the dishes if she felt like it. Space to sit in her peace without explaining it to anybody. And he tried to come back, eventually. They always do. Sent a text one night. Just thinking about you. Hope you're okay. She stared at it for a while. Thought about those 25 years and that one sentence. And then she smiled, not bitter, not smug, just free. Didn't reply. Didn't need to. See, baby, the best revenge ain't bitterness. It's looking in the mirror and finally seeing yourself without the weight of who you were trying to be for somebody else. She didn't need applause. Didn't need him to regret it out loud. Didn't need anybody to tell her she won. Because real victory, that's when you can walk through the fire and come out carrying your joy like perfume. She didn't burn his stuff. She built a new life. Quiet, beautiful, hers. And that, sugar, is how a woman rises. Not loud, not angry, just whole. Now, sugar, listen close because this part holds a truth that every woman needs to know deep in her bones. Years passed. And just like the sun comes up no matter the storm, he came back round. That's right. He showed up again, like some tired old song stuck on repeat. Only this time he was different. Not the man she married, not even the one who left. No, now he was weathered. Gray at the edges like an old photograph fading with time. Slower too, like the weight of regret sat heavy on his shoulders. You could see it in his eyes. All those shoulda, coulda, wildas, lined up like a long train he'd been chasing too late. But baby, here's the thing. By then, she wasn't waiting. She wasn't sitting by the window, clutching hope or bitterness. Nope, she had something way more powerful. She had peace. And peace don't take visitors from the past. Peace don't let old ghosts in without knocking first. Peace is that quiet strength that says, I'm done with the drama. Now I live for me. When he finally knocked, she didn't rush to the door, didn't throw herself into his arms or beg for explanations. She met him with the calm of a woman who's been through the fire and come out shining. She looked him in the eye, steady and sure, and said something that cut deeper than any scream could. I didn't leave when you chose her. I left when I remembered who I was. Oh, honey, hear me when I say that line carries the weight of 1,000 truths. Because so many times, women get caught up thinking they lost when somebody walked away. But no, baby. What we lose is the forgetting of ourselves. The forgetting of our worth, our power, our light. She didn't leave because he left. She left because she found herself again. She remembered the woman who prayed in the quiet mornings, who dreamed with open eyes, who loved without apology and didn't settle for crumbs when she deserved the whole loaf. And that's the lesson in the let go. Sometimes, walking away ain't about running from pain or failure. Sometimes, it's about choosing peace over chaos. Choosing you over someone who's too blind to see your value. Choosing to stop waiting on a love that forgot how to stay. Now, when he came back, he saw a woman transformed. Not desperate or bitter, but whole, radiant even. And that's when he understood the truth he'd missed all along. He wasn't the one holding her, she was holding herself. And no one who can hold their own needs a crutch. So remember this, Baby, you ain't never nobody's backup plan. You ain't a placeholder for someone's better days. You're the blessing they walked past when they were too blind to see. And if somebody tries to come back like they want to reclaim what they lost, you just smile gently, hold your head high, and remind them, quietly but clearly, that you left when you remembered who you were, and that's a woman no one ever forgets. Now, baby, let me tell you, love is a beautiful thing. But it ain't meant to make you small. It's supposed to lift you, not drain you dry. Folks will come and go, talk about needing something new or fresh, like love's a pair of shoes they outgrew. When they do, you look them straight in the eyes and say, you go on and chase your new chapter, sweetheart. But don't be shocked when you can't read the story without me. Because see, time don't mean loyalty, and years don't guarantee respect. Some people will share your table and still forget who cooked the meal, but that ain't your burden to carry. You just bless 'em and let 'em walk. Hold your head high, sugar. You were the garden, the one that bloomed even in the shade. You gave life, warmth, and beauty. They just didn't know how to water what they were lucky to have. But one day they'll remember. Maybe too late, but they will. And when that memory hits, you'll already be sittin' in your peace, rockin' slow, smiling soft, because Auntie Mae was right all along. What's real never loses, it just rises.